Good morning, podcast world, and good morning, Carla.
Good morning, Caroline. Good morning, podcast world. Good morning, little voice that just said recording in progress. She's very American.
Not going to lie, this is the second time we've started this.
I'll listen out for that little voice next time. I'll be ready for it.
Yeah. I forgot to press the record button, which is really a metaphor for how this week has gone.
Yeah, we'll recap on what we got, where we'd got to, which was pretty much wasn't it?
It was, yes. I woke up. I was telling Carla. I was telling you all. I woke up on Wednesday with a sense that something in the world wasn't right. Just a sense of unease and a sense of not being. Think something wasn't right. I don't know why. I don't often get that. It's not something that's really happened before. And it turned out, many hours and many hours of stress later, that William, my son, who lives in London, had been in hospital all night since the evening before with chest pains, having tests on his heart. I hasten to add, he's okay. But
eventually you discovered he was okay.
Yes, I couldn't get it. But when I had this sense of unease, I thought, I'm going to try and get in touch with Will. I thought, I checked his Facebook, the little green light on Facebook. I expect if you're a parent, viewers, listeners even, you are of an adult child or a teenager or whatever, you have done that thing where you check when they were last online just to make sure that they're around and still in the world and all that sort of thing. I'm neurotic, I'm a worrier, I admit that. But so I looked at his Facebook and he'd been online at 5 o'clock in the morning, and his girlfriend had been online at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I thought, that's very odd on a Tuesday night, work night. And that sort of increased my sense of unease. And I then tried to get in touch with him. I tried to ring him once he got to work, once he would have been at work, couldn't get in touch with him. No reply from him, no reply from his girlfriend. Tried WhatsApp, tried Facebook, tried text, phone calls, everything. Didn't actually manage to speak to him until after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, by which time my stress levels were through the roof. And in the meantime, Ashley had managed to get in touch with his boss. We looked up his work website. He works for a very small company up in London, and of course, being a modern company, they didn't have a thing like a phone number. There was just an email address. So Ashley emailed this email address and said, William Matthews, please call. It was like a generic email address for the company. Said, William Matthews, please call me as soon as possible. Thank God, this was about lunchtime, I think. William's boss called back to Ashley and said, oh, hi, you've sent an email. And Ashley explained who he was. And it turned out that he said, oh, well, William's not here today. He's off sick because he was in hospital all night having tests because he had chest pains.
So that set your mind at rest, no end.
Absolutely, yes. Anyway, I should probably wrap that up, otherwise we'll talk about nothing but my stress for the whole. He eventually phoned back. He was fine. He'd had chest pains apparently for a few weeks, and of course, when you have chest pains, the more you worry about having chest pains, the worse they get. It can be psychosomatical. I've had it myself. I've had that myself. Bit like you with your what was it? Your eye thing. And you immediately think the worst thing, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And the worst thing you can do is Google your symptoms.
Oh God, yes.
Google will not help.
No. Dr. Google is never the one to go to, is he? So yes, he'd had all the ECG and everything, and he's got a bit of weird arrhythmia, I think they called it. And he's all okay. He's out. He's been poorly for a few days. I was just saying to Carla, I suspect he's got some sort of virus or something. But I have just managed to speak to him this morning after not being able to get hold of him this morning. We're recording this on Saturday, and he's okay. He's feeling a bit better today, so that's good. But he's got to go and have a heart scan on his heart. Hilarious, yeah.
Never. Of all places to do a heart scan.
Although you say that, when I have William. Fun giving birth story here. They lost some swabs after William was born. They couldn't find some of the swabs that they'd used, and they said to me, well, we can either check for them manually or we can send you for an X-ray. And having just been through quite a traumatic birth, I said, I think I'll have the X-ray, please. They sent me all the way down to the X-ray.
Manually checking. Yeah.
Having just given birth, they sent me all the way down to X-ray, and they X-rayed my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
They thought I'd eaten them.
Right. Okay.
I think there was not.
So in a hospital full of medical professionals, nobody knows where the babies come from.
Apparently not. By the time I returned from the X-ray department at the opposite end of the hospital to the maternity department, they had actually found the swabs, so I didn't have to go back to have the right bit X-rayed. So
Wonderful.
anyway, how's your week been, Carla?
My week has been, it's been okay. It's not been particularly stressy this week. Mum is okay.
Oh, that's good.
She's a bit gloomy, because the thing is that mum is one of life's health warriors anyway. Everything to mum is a symptom. If you stub your toe, that's a symptom that something's wrong. And I'm like, no, it's a symptom of me being a clumsy cow, mum. It's nothing. But yeah, so it's made her a bit gloomy and a bit fretty, but she's okay. They're going to give her regular blood tests or whatever. And things at work are changing. So I may be changing to working evenings instead of daytimes mostly. And I think that will be better for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because everybody else, the thing is they're changing the hours that the business is open. And all of the other people have gone, oh, we don't want to work till 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, actually, I think I do. I think I would rather work evenings. At the moment, I don't do anything with evenings. I come home some nights at about 6:30, I get into my bed.
Yeah,
because
I know that feeling.
I'm going to watch television. It's cold. I may as well be in my bed where it's warm watching television than downstairs on the sofa on my own watching television.
Warm and comfortable. What's not to like?
But it's not necessarily the best thing for a person's character, shall I say, or mental health, or whatever you want to call it, to go home and get back into their hermit hole, is it, all the time, So I think this might actually work well for me. If I can work evenings, then I'll do something with that time that is currently dead time, wasted time, lazy time, and I'll have my daytimes back to do what I want to do during the day. And also it means that I can, mum was talking about, I currently only see her on a Sunday, and she was talking about how it'd be easier for her if that was a weekday, because then if she had appointments or whatever, she could schedule them towards a weekday and know that I'd be able to take her.
Oh, okay.
So that's quite a positive step, really, in some ways. I'll go back to seeing mum on maybe a Thursday, which it always was. Thursdays was traditionally mum day.
Yeah.
Mum and dad day when dad was alive,
So what shifts will you? Hang on, let me rephrase that into something that sounds like actual words. What shifts would you do then? You'd be finishing at 10?
Yeah, I would be finishing at 10, and I'd probably start around about 5, half 5, 6 o'clock. So at the moment, I do 3 6-hour shifts a week, and I think I would see if it could be restructured into 4.5-hour shifts a week.
Oh, okay.
So I want one more day, theoretically, but shorter shifts and just a more convenient time of day for me, I think. I don't think I mind finishing work at 10 at night if I haven't started until 5:30. I think if I've had the day to myself.
Yeah, it's worth it. The only thing is you might not, because you're a morning person like me, aren't you?
I am.
And by the time you've got home and sort of wound down after work and gone to bed, you might find that you naturally sleep later. Or
I might lose some of my early morning. I might, whereas currently at the moment I wake up about 5:30 and I'm ready to start work at 6 in the office.
Yeah,
I might lose some of that, and I might find that I don't start work until a couple of hours later.
Still not the end of the world, though.
Yeah, I think it would. Like I said, I feel okay about it, and the opening hours may change again towards the winter. So if it hasn't, if it isn't all gravy over the summer, at least I know it doesn't have to last till the end of time, so to speak.
It's worth a try, isn't it? See how you get on.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be set in stone. It can be relooked at and readdressed if it isn't panning. So
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that's my week. Nothing very novel.
I'm just trying to think. Oh, I've been up to Bournemouth, flying visit up to Bournemouth. Oh, I have got some good news. Shall I give you some good news? My brother got a new job.
Oh, that was really quick.
It was really quick, wasn't it?
That's a man who doesn't laze about, isn't it?
So he got a call. He was contacted by a competitor for the company he worked for, or some connection that he already had from the company he worked for, and they had a job going that was similar to what he did, similar skill set, and they said, would he be interested in applying for it? And he said, oh yes, I would. And long story short, he had the interview Wednesday afternoon, had the offer Wednesday night, and he accepted it on Thursday morning. And he's earning almost twice as much as he was earning previously, which is very nice.
Double brilliant with cheese on top. Excellent.
Yeah, so it was almost, as it was meant to be type of thing. So yeah,
yes.
Really good.
Beautiful. That is some good news.
Yeah, that was, because I know he was worried. So that was turned out to be easier and less stressful than he imagined. So that was a bit of good news. So I was going up to Bournemouth anyway to see Mum and Dad, or just flying visit on Thursday night. So we ended up going out for a celebratory meal and drink at the pub. So that was nice with the family.
Lovely.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. And then tomorrow we're off to London to see William.
Yeah, to take him chicken soup and soothe his fevered brow.
Something like that, yeah. We were going anyway. We booked it about a month or so ago to go up and see him and see his new little flat he's got. And
this will be the first time you've seen the flat.
Yes, yeah. So quite looking forward to that. So we're just going up for a couple of nights. So.
And will you go into the flat in shifts? Because London flat's probably only room for one of you at a time, isn't there?
Yeah, you can only get one person at a time. So going in sideways.
Yeah, Will standing in the corridor going, if you go round the corner.
Made me laugh actually, because there was very minimal furniture, and I saw the video of when it was being rented, when it was available for rent. He sent me the copy of the estate agent's video, and it looked very compact and bijou, and the previous person had minimal furniture, and it still looked really small. And so Will negotiated them to get him a double bed to put in there, which he had when he moved in, and they turned out to be a king size. And I was thinking, God, how can he move around that room with a king size bed in it? And this is his bedroom and his lounge, it's all one room.
Yeah.
And then he informed me he'd ordered a sofa from IKEA, so God knows.
Well, perhaps he's building a mezzanine level. Have you seen those tiny homes that they have in Japan? And they have about 3 square foot, and they've managed to get an entire 3-bedroom house into it somehow. It's amazing what they do.
Yes,
there's kind of a loft bed and a table that comes down out the wall, and a sink that pops up out of your pillowcase or something like that.
It's so clever, isn't it? There's it's on Netflix, I think. There's a series about tiny homes, and they convert vans and caravans and tiny living space. In fact, I saw something about somebody living in a skip in London. They built a skip into it.
I saw that. Where did I see that?
I think it was on a news programme not that long ago.
Yeah, and the chap went in to be interviewed, and inside it was all boarded out and all looked lovely.
Yeah,
like a proper, looked like a really nice little home. I mean, I don't know where the world is coming to when people are living in skips and happy about it, but that segues fairly neatly into today's discussion topic, doesn't it?
See what you did there. You're going to be a pro at this, aren't you?
I think they call it a link. I linked neatly into the next segment there. Thank you very much.
What a segue.
ITV, if you're listening, I am available for any day that Davina McCall isn't presenting something.
Well, that's not never. In fact, I saw Davina McCall being blamed this week for the lack of availability of HRT products.
Is she using too many? I mean, what have I missed? I realised that she promoted her happiness at having HRT, didn't she? So
she did.
Everybody said, if it's good enough for Davina, it's good enough for me. Yeah,
she did a couple of TV programmes about menopause and HRT, didn't she? And also wrote a book, I believe. So, but I think blaming her for the lack of HRT is a bit much, really.
A bit harsh, isn't it? Yeah,
it's really
a bit harsh.
Yeah. Anyway,
I find that we are constantly directed into blaming anyone apart from the people whose fault it probably is, though, aren't we? So
yeah, funny that, isn't it?
Yeah. Today's sorry, go on.
No, you carry on, because I'm just Googling something while you introduce today's subject that I wanted.
Today's subject was going to be, and I'm going to paraphrase here because I haven't got it in front of me. Is the world the worst it's currently been, or does every generation think that? That's about it, isn't it?
Yes. It is. Yeah. Hang on, I'm just looking for the bit of but there's a song lyric that yes, this is it. Do you remember the Baz Luhrmann Sunscreen song?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, there's a bit in that that says, accept certain inalienable truths. Prices will rise, politicians will philander, you too will get old, and when you do, you'll fantasize that when you were young, prices were reasonable, politicians were noble, and children respected their elders.
Yeah, I do remember that. And then, yeah, all of it, you think about it. I've lost the ability to speak. This is just what you want in a podcast, isn't it? Really, it's someone who cannot get a sentence out.
Do you want me to sentence instead?
Yeah, you sentence away, and I'll try and chip
Okay.
in if anything comes up.
My mother frequently refers to my grandmother, my mum's mum, as she got older. She used to say, with a big sigh, "What terrible times we live in." And when she died just after I was married, so late 90s. So this is probably, she did this all through the 80s and 90s, I would say.
Yeah.
I remember her saying it a lot. And I'm not sure the 80s or the 90s were particularly terrible times. I think, in comparison, the 70s were probably worse, weren't they? But she obviously felt that. And now my mother says, in a sort of self-deprecating way, what terrible times we live in. And I kind of think that as well. The older I get, I kind of agree. So yeah, is it a thing that you look back and think everything was better?
I think there is a tendency to look back on one's childhood as though those must have been the rosier times, because you had no responsibility.
Yeah.
So when somebody says to you the school days are the best days of your life, they don't mean you are having an excellent time right now. They mean you are going to have a worse time later. Because when you are a kid, if somebody says to you, enjoy your school days, they're the best days of your life, you think, well, they're not, because big fat Sarah pulls my pigtails every day, and I don't like the school dinners, and that school dinner lady's horrible to me, and I don't understand maths, and all of these things that in your little child world are dreadful. And you can't understand why people are telling you school days are the best days of your life, because they're plainly not having a good time right now. And what they mean is, as I said, it's going to get worse later on. But when you look back on your childhood, you don't necessarily remember big fat Sarah pulling your pigtails, and I can't even remember what we had for school dinners. And I remember the glory days, the sunshine days, and whatever. Yeah. And the world seemed better then. The
summer holidays, and it was sunny every single day for the 6 whole weeks of summer. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't.
So yeah, during my lifetime, the world seems to have progressively got worse because I have begun to pay more attention to it.
Do you think that's it? Maybe we're just more aware of it as we get older.
I think as you become older, you become more aware of the problems. You look at the governmental crises, you look at the failings, and I think, for example, the NHS in its infancy was going to be such a, it was a wonderful, the concept is wonderful, and it was going to be wonderful. And in my infancy, I could go to the doctor, in my infancy, in my youth, if you needed a doctor's appointment, you could ring up and make one. And it was very simple. And now you cannot ring up and make one, and it isn't very simple. And so therefore that has deteriorated. However, we do tend to look back with rose-tinted glasses and forget about things like miners' strikes. We don't forget about them as such, but we forget about, we talk about there were miners' strikes, but you don't think about the impact. I was not from a mining family. But if you were in a mining family, then you were having a very, very bad time.
Absolutely.
And we talk about the fact that, there were power cuts in the 70s and we were all fine. I remember power cuts. Yes, but you don't remember the fact that somebody was having a really, people were having a really bad time. And because you weren't experiencing it because you were younger then.
Yeah.
I think that's...
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think it's...
I don't think the world is the worst it's ever been. I think it's the worst it's ever been for us. So
our generation, you mean?
Yeah. And I think it's because of your age. As you get older, you're having a worse time. You have more responsibilities, more things to worry about.
So, for example, if you were someone who was our age in the 1970s, because you had the general strikes, you had the power cuts that you just touched
on. At that point, for them, the world was the worst it had ever been.
Yeah, you were a bad recession. So pretty much the same as you've got now, but you could get a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, exactly. I think also the difference after the war. People were able to say, oh, well, you know, we're having a wonderful time now because we were having a war. You know, rationing ended and so on and so forth.
Rationing didn't
And so
end until a long time after the end of the war,
rationing didn't
though,
end
did it?
until the mid-50s, didn't it? Or
No.
something like that. 56,
Yeah.
57. I'm not entirely sure on my dates. What I mean is when all that ended, people were able to look back and go, we had a worse time then. But even then, people rose tint things. So people now will tell you, well, during the war, we all pulled together. During the war, it was all wonderful. During the war, we all sang songs down the shelters and it was all fabulous. It wasn't all fabulous, darling, because people were dying in their thousands.
Yes.
You know? I think at that point, everybody went, it's all the worst it's ever been. And then the Falklands War, people thought that was the worst it's ever been. For wherever you are on the planet at that particular time, I think a lot of it is how you're going to approach it. You can decide that it's the worst it's ever been, or you can realize that there's going to be difficult. There's always been difficulty throughout generations of different kinds. We're just having a different worst to what our grandparents had.
Do you think as well, this is sort of a different conversation, but do you think social media that feeds into making us all feel like it's worse? Because I think it probably does in a way.
You didn't know about some of the dreadful things that other people were experiencing because they were busy experiencing them and you were busy in your bubble. Everybody when they were in their own little bubbles, living their own life. So now a lot of our bubbles have coalesced. So despite the fact we are all in our own little bubbles, we can
the information superhighway is too information-y, maybe, making us think about things that we can't actually do anything about other than worry about them and think, oh, bloody hell, that's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the Serenity Prayer, isn't it? God grant me the serenity to change the things I can change and to know the difference.
I cannot change, isn't it? Yes.
And now we are all told so much that we ought to be changing things, which comes back to what I said earlier on about blaming the wrong people. So blaming the end users of plastic for the problems with plastic.
Yeah.
Instead of blaming the manufacturers of the plastic or the people who are making the money. You know, blame it. I think it's...
I mean, to use the plastic example, I go to the supermarket, I want to buy some mushrooms. I would prefer to buy the mushrooms that you put in the brown paper bag at the supermarket rather than the ones in the plastic container. But sometimes there's not any apart from ones in plastic containers. So, you know, I guess I could not buy the mushrooms, but it would be better if they didn't put them in the plastic container to start with, which is
also it would be better if the ones that were loose. You know, quite often these days there isn't a appreciative price difference. And so if they don't price the loose mushrooms competitively, then people are still going to choose convenience because we are also pushed for time. And then in the back of your mind, there's that guilt that I chose convenience over the planet. I didn't care about this. I didn't care about that. And I think we layer guilt on each other, and social media has a huge part in layering guilt upon other people.
Oh, for sure. Oh, you shouldn't be buying that soap. You shouldn't be buying that. You should buy. And well, I guess we see it in YouTube comments, don't we? All the time. You know, we've each got a YouTube channel, and you see judgment for for various things you do all the time. And I guess social media has made it very easy to sit and judge someone from behind your keyboard, hasn't it? I'm not sure.
Very easy. Yeah.
And I think we've become more comfortable with seeing that as well. People think it's not think it's okay, but think it's normal to sit and pass judgment on other. You see it in Facebook threads all the time, don't you? I don't know if you're in the bargains group, extreme coupons and bargaining or something.
I was in there. I don't think I'm in there anymore.
Oh my God. And someone posts, you know, oh, I got all these lovely yellow sticker things from Tesco. Well, why did you buy 4 of them? Did you really need 4? And
yeah, well, yes, I did, because I've got a family of 12 and there's nothing in our freezer. Well, you should have taken 3 and left 1 for somebody else. And you can, I think there is a huge swathe of humanity who are assuaging their own misery by picking on other people. I think there's a huge And you didn't get that. You didn't get that before social media. You got bullies. People were still bullies,
Yeah,
but people were
absolutely.
bullies in
Yeah.
person. And if somebody was bullying you, you could leave them and go away and never see them again. You could avoid them. You could look around the corner and they go, there's big fat Sarah. I will go the other way so she cannot pull my pigtails. And the problem is now that there are so many big fat Sarahs wanting to pull your pigtails that when you go the other way, there's another one waiting.
Yeah. Social media certainly has. And I mean, I guess, again, that makes the world seem a worse place than it is, unless you can rise above it and not take part.
You lose faith in humanity through being exposed to them.
Yeah.
If you never met anyone, so for example, I have never met a big brown bear. I've never met one.
Have you not?
And therefore, it is
Alaska.
easy for me to believe that they are beautiful creatures, lovely and soft and cuddly and furry and probably very caring. They probably bring their young up in a wonderful manner. They probably have a great community spirit in the big brown bear world. They're probably lovely. If I met one and it clawed my face off, I would be able to change my opinion. And if I was constantly bombarded by people who'd met big brown bears and told me how awful they were, I would change my opinion there. And I've lost my analogy somewhere. It's gone a bit wonky.
I was enjoying the big brown bear.
I wonder where I was going with it.
I don't know.
I wonder where I was going with that. I don't know. I was going with I think I was going back to when we all lived in our own bubbles and we didn't see into other people's bubbles quite so much. It was easy to believe that humanity was nice. There we go. I've got it back. I've clawed it back.
Yes.
Clawed. See what I did there? So when you didn't interact so much with other people, it was easy to believe that everyone was nice. And now when you're constantly being
exposed to
far too much. Yeah.
I think as well, COVID has the lockdowns and the only being able to communicate via the internet for a lot of people. I think that has perhaps speeded up. I think COVID has left a lot of people angry. That's a whole other conversation, isn't it? But I think it's perhaps made it seem worse, the whole social media and exacerbating the bad things in the world rather than the good. I mean, social media is good as well in many ways at connecting people with other people with like similar interests. And I'm thinking like crochet groups, and when I was really into crochet, that was really helpful, and I wouldn't have been able to meet so many like-minded crochet people, just to use one example, without social media. So that was good. But yeah, it does feel quite poisonous at times, doesn't it? And I think
people have forgotten. Sorry.
I think if you're already feeling low about the state of the world or low about anything, I think then exposing yourself to too much social media can make you feel more of that.
Yeah, I think people have forgotten that they don't have to engage with people they don't like. I think, like I said, going back to I could go around the corner and avoid big fat Sarah. People are now forgetting that they don't have to engage. So they're forgetting that on Facebook you can, if you don't like someone who's in a particular group, you can hide that user.
Yeah,
you don't have to see their posts again. Instead of reading their posts and being annoyed by the things they post, and there's that person who gets to me all the time. There's that person. I'm trying not to swear because it makes the editing easier for you if I don't swear. But there's that person who gets up my nose, and there they are again, and they're always doing this. And you can just hide that user. And people are forgetting that they don't have to watch the YouTube channels of people they don't enjoy. You can just hide. You can just go away. And I think
always makes me laugh. Sorry to interrupt. When people on Instagram, that was quite often in the reselling community, I'm sort of on the periphery of it on Instagram, so I don't see much. But there was some hoo-ha recently, so I was like, I can't believe what I've seen on Instagram this morning. People are disgraceful. You literally curate your own Instagram feed.
Yeah.
But don't watch it. Unfollow.
Yeah.
Unfollow them, then you will not see it, and you'll be blissfully ignorant like me.
And I think that's why we tend to think the world is a terrible place, because we look at too much of the stuff we don't actually need to look at.
Absolutely. I've certainly cut down the amount of social media. Although I have got TikTok back on my phone now. God, do you have TikTok?
I have TikTok. I don't use my TikTok. I think I've got like 2 very brief videos on it. I don't make videos for TikTok. I have it and I scroll through. But I am remembering again that the TikTok algorithm shows you more of things that you watch. so that if you stop watching it, you'll see less of it. I'm remembering that.
Yeah. I try
Because,
to
again,
not watch what it serves me up. I only watch that. I try to click on the following thing.
Yeah.
So I see
Yeah.
the people that I follow that I feel like that's what I want to see. Rather, so again, you can filter out all the shite that you don't want to, that you're not interested.
It would be nice if it defaulted to your following page rather than defaulting to your For You page, but that would defeat their own objects, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yes. And anyway, I guess we better wrap up because we're running out of time.
So have we decided whether the world is the worst it's ever been or not?
I think the world isn't. There's a lot of downsides of it. I mean, but no, I think overall. No, I'm not going to finish a sentence here, am I? Clearly, I'm not going to finish.
I think the state of the planet is the worst it's ever been. I think we have realised how much damage we have done to the planet. That's definitely the worst. But then maybe not the worst it's ever been, because at one point there was a flipping ice age and everything died. So, the world does go in circles, but we have definitely probably done the most damage that we've ever done over the last century.
Absolutely, but like what they called extinction environment or something. I can't remember what they're called. The pressure group who lie all over motorways and stuff.
I can't think. Now you've said that, I can't get the right word. That's not right, but I can't get the right word.
No, it's not. Anyway, you know who Rebellion? I mean. The Extinction Rebellion.
Yeah.
I mean, do they not understand that only 2% of carbon emissions in the world is down to this country? If we stopped right now, everything. It would not change, that it needs to be bigger change than that. It needs to be global change. And I can't see how that's going to work. Well,
I think
we've turned into a whole different discussion.
The Industrial Revolution was probably the worst thing that ever happened for the planet, wasn't it? Let's face it.
For sure. And of course, developing countries are having their industrial revolutions much later than ours. And some of them, only now. And they don't feel like they should be. India, for example, doesn't want to stop doing what it's doing, does it? And I'm sure China doesn't, and whoever else. So it's a global problem, and I can't see how it's going to be sorted out. And Extinction Rebellion lying on motorways when only 2% of carbon emissions come from this country is not going to help anybody, in my opinion.
No. I expect a comet will come. Remember that comet that was going to hit us and then it didn't?
Which one?
I expect another one will come.
Oh, the comet.
Yes, comet. There was going to be a comet. Was an enormous comet was going to come and smash us into oblivion, and it never came.
Nice.
I don't know whether they decided that, because they were talking about trying to change its trajectory. I can't say. Apparently, I cannot say trajectory.
Trajectory.
Yeah, I don't even know what actually happened about that big comet in the end, but I remember watching a film about this on the same premise, and in the film, the comet did come, and that was the end of the film.
It did, yes.
They managed to stretch it out for an hour and a half before the comet hit them, so that was all right.
Yes, if only they'd had that in the first 5 minutes, it would have saved them all the bother of making the film, wouldn't it? Right, on that note, we will love you and leave you and see you again next week. I hope you are enjoying it, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.
Bye.